and here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Good evening. You are taking a live look, well, a not live look right now in the Atlantic Ocean, where we have a booster from New Glen's second flight, currently atop the barge Jacqueline. This photo, of course, from Jeff Bezos, posted on X just a short time ago. Well, we've had one that landed. I think it's time for another one to take off. And for that, we are now taking a live look at Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where United Launch Alliance is up next with the Viasat-3 Flight 2 mission. So this is another second flight, although not second flight of a rocket, second flight for Viasat-3. And we'll get into exactly what that means in just a little bit. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and no, do not adjust your sets. I was just out in the field a couple hours ago, back in the studio, now hosting for this one, but I am not alone. Another voice you may recognize from earlier is Alejandro Casarilla Romero. Alex, how's it going tonight?
Well, one launch and one landing down, I guess, for today. And we still have one launch remaining with the Atlas V, so let's see it launch.
Let's go 2 for 2. And speaking of 2 for 2, we have two more people out in the field tonight. One of them joining us on comms is Max Evans. Max, how are you doing?
The night is young, everybody. We still have one more left. Yes, good evening, everybody, and what a privilege it is to be bringing you a second launch today, and that's not SpaceX, so a rather unique treat.
That is very true. My dad was asking me earlier, when was the last time that we've had two launches that were on the same day that did not include a SpaceX launch? And I think that goes back to the 1960s, I believe. So
Yes, it has been decades, literally.
Also, two launches from the Space Coast, not even back to back, like just consecutive launches from different providers that were not SpaceX. Been a long time since that's happened.
That is also a good point, yes. Also out in the field tonight is D Wise, and then pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, as you saw his head pop up in the corner, is Kevin Michael Reed. Jay Keegan is also in the background helping out tonight too. If you have questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceplate, and of course, we will try and answer as many of your questions as possible, or if you don't want to type that much, you can also do at NSF, and it does the same thing. So, this is take 2, as, last week we were originally supposed to see this rocket take off, but Alex, what is the payload for people that forget, and what was this pesky valve that was delaying the first attempt?
Yeah, so this mission is carrying the Viasat-3 Flight 2 spacecraft, meaning it is the second of the trio of Viasat-3 satellites that Viasat is launching on multiple different rockets. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is the second one, and it is launching on Atlas V. It's going to be carried into a geosynchronous transfer orbit, a little bit more energetic than we're used to for traditional GTO missions. It's going to be a little bit closer to the end orbit, the final orbit for the satellite, because it's a much bigger rocket, right? It's got all 5 solar rocket boosters, etc., etc. So it's going to be dropped off a little bit closer to its final target orbit. Now, This satellite is just a communication satellite, but it also provides, things like broadband connectivity. You've got TV, lots of different things essentially from this particular satellite, which is thanks to a big deployable antenna that will be sort of unfurling as it goes out to geostationary orbit on its way out there. Now, for today's mission, as you said, Sawyer, this is attempt number 2. What happened on the first attempt? Well, there was a very pesky valve on the first stage on the liquid oxygen tank of the Atlas booster that was not functioning properly. So they even had to roll back the rocket in order to be able to work on that. And so it was roughly 1 week of work on this. And they were successful on that replacement. They replaced the entire valve. And earlier today, during the countdown, as you can see there, they were able to confirm that it is functioning properly. There you can see engineers at the Atlas propulsion console here in the launch control room report that the new booster vent valve is functioning properly. The team just completed a successful cycle test that verified hardware is operating as expected. So yay, we have a good valve there. Rocket seems to be proceeding nominally through the propellant load sequence. First stage, fully loaded. Second stage, liquid oxygen tank is complete. Liquid hydrogen should be wrapping up really soon. And then, of course, the weather, we'll probably talk about that as we can see here. Some problem, I guess, that's... we can update already the LH2, the liquid hydrogen. It's already complete as of right now. The latest update 2 minutes ago was that the Centaur upper stage, the liquid hydrogen, had just wrapped up. So rocket is fully loaded. Yeah, complete. There we go. And ready to go. I've seen Tori Bruno, CEO of ULA, saying the countdown nets are quiet. I thought my headset was broken, right? So that tells you how good everything is going across the board. Sometimes you gotta fix these things to be able to fly again.
Exactly. The pesky valve resolved. That's what we like to hear. And yes, the rocket now fully fueled, giving us a total weight of 1.29 million pounds or 587,000 kilograms, sitting out at Slick 41 right now. And yeah, as you pointed out, the weather was absolutely spectacular for the first flight of the day. Max, is it looking just as spectacular for tonight?
Well, just as interesting as the first flight, there actually has not been a recent forecast released from the 45th Weather Squadron based at the Patrick Space Force Base. So we have to go off of what was released yesterday morning. And what was released yesterday morning is honestly still pretty accurate in that the chances of a weather-related violation are less than 5%. So literally about as good as you can get. And of course, we don't have to worry about booster recovery weather or really any major upper level wind concerns because, of course, Atlas doesn't have a recoverable first stage. But on the forecast is listed rather concerningly is the solar activity. The solar activity risk was of high concern. And of course, that was yesterday, and the forecast has since been updated elsewhere in that the geomagnetic storm, good Lord, I can't talk, it's been a long day. The geomagnetic storm that was supposed to come through again last night as sort of a part two was greatly reduced in intensity, and as a result, not only was New Glenn able to launch today, but ULA feels comfortable enough in that the solar radiation present will not greatly affect the payload aboard the Atlas V today. So things seem to be trending in the right direction, as we often like to say. And judging by what the Mark I eyeballs are able to depict at the moment, there is the night is basically as still as it can really get. There are stars aplenty, no moon just yet, and the wind is basically stagnant. So weather-wise, we are looking as good as it really gets.
There we go. And yeah, you saw those photos just a moment ago from Julia Bergeron from last night where you could still see the aurora even 24 hours after the crazy shots that we were seeing from all along most of the United States, all the way down to the Space Coast, including Max, your awesome shot with the palm trees. I still love that one.
Yeah, that was crazy. I tried, so that was just on the State Route 50 boat ramp over here in Titusville. I don't live very far from there because obviously I live here on the Space Coast, and I figured that would be a great spot because the skies are pretty dark over there. And sure enough, they were incredibly vibrant. Very, very lucky to have seen that, and that may or may not be the last time we see it for quite a while. We also said that last year, and here we are just over a year later seeing the same thing. So either way, it is a very unique visual treat.
It really is, and that is the shot that I was talking about. Absolutely spectacular from Max. That was from 2 nights ago, but still put on quite a show. This far south is something special. That's also when you know how strong of a storm that was as
Yes.
well.
Yes,
So-
and that was the primary concern for the folks over at Blue Origin and also NASA as well this morning regarding the second flight of New Glenn and of course the Escapade twins that will eventually be making their way onto Mars. Obviously, everyone has come to the conclusion that the radiation levels are at a point that is acceptable, and that everyone is happy. And of course, people at Viasat and ULA feel about the same. So everything is looking good.
Winning. Yep. So
No, Sawyer, it's too late for that. Stop it.
oh, got to try and have a little fun and stay a little bit awake with everything going on here. So, anyway, we are now about 50 minutes to go. It's weird because normally we'd be getting ready for the timeline for fueling, but it's all fully fueled.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you saw on the graphic there, some of it is loaded up, days in advance. And the RP1, which is basically room temperature, was loaded back on November 4th. So plenty of time with that prop load. And now they just continue to top things off. But earlier, obviously with New Glenn, we saw things topping off, Alex, and we saw the flare stack burning. Do they have that for Atlas V?
For Atlas V, yes, they have the flare stack for the upper stage, for the Centaur liquid hydrogen that they load there. They have a very specific vent on the umbilical tower there. It's not a vent because it's not venting out, but it's sort of like a reclaiming system that they hook up to the Centaur, and then it goes and it's burned off at the flare stack.
So if it was methane, it would be... Oh, no, wait, wrong rocket.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I see a lot of people asking questions about this, and I know we've been talking about this in the back channel as well. Alex, for tomorrow, because we were talking about the lack of back-to-back SpaceX launches here, there's definitely 2, and as of right now, according to the forecast that we've seen, according to next space flight, we have 2 of them that technically have the exact same window. So any word on how they would launch 2 tomorrow? Would they be able to launch 2 tomorrow? What's the deal with that as we wait for this one to launch?
Well, 2 launches in a single day, or even within a couple of hours of each other. SpaceX is very well familiar with that sort of procedure and operations and cadence of operations, even at the Space Coast. However, it is true that both windows overlap, that the beginning and the end of both windows are at the same time. But as we're saying, I'm using window precisely with a certain purpose here. So recently, we've been talking about how, because of the FAA emergency order, these could be sort of placeholders until they are actually able to move away from this. Whether we are actually going to see 2 launches on the same time, at the same minute and same second, I cannot guarantee that that's going to happen because these are windows. That's the beginning of the window. And there are 4 hours in those windows, which means one of them could launch at the beginning, just as easy as the other can launch at the end. And therefore, both launches will be 4 hours in between, which, mind you, it's still not even the record for SpaceX launches, like for the shortest time between 2 SpaceX launches. So I'm just going to say, as you can see there, 2 launches with the windows beginning at the same time, they could also just stray apart by 4 hours. And I mean, who knows, maybe we can even get a 24-hour delay on one of those, because they have also other concerns like recovery weather, etc., right? They have to rely on a lot of things that may eventually stray these 2 apart. But don't fret, because one way or another we'll find out tomorrow, and we'll of course cover that here at NSF. So we'll stay tuned to see what happens. It's going to be exciting one way or the other.
Exactly, and make sure you download Next Spaceflight too, so you can get the notifications before the launches, and of course subscribe here so you know when we go live to cover them.
In fact, I was sort of mentioning Windows very emphatically, but I forgot that we actually have a graphic on next space flight. Kevin, if you click on the mission, it should show up. Let's see. And there you go. See that bar there? It shows the beginning of the window and then the end of the window right there. And then the green dot sort of tells you where in the window that is. For example, for today's mission, we are right at the beginning of that window. We're tracking that liftoff hopefully in 45 minutes. We have not heard of any unplanned holds in the countdown. So far, we are still on track for the opening of the window. So we'll see what happens tomorrow with those two Starlinks. But as you mentioned, Sawyer, they can keep track of that on nextspaceflight.com.
Exactly. There you go. But we will see what ends up happening with that. In fact, the original attempt for this launch was going to be probably the second fastest turnaround time between launches at the Cape, with a Starlink that had launched earlier in the evening, and then Atlas was supposed to launch about an hour and 50 minutes after, but that, of course, ended up delaying due to that valve issue. But could have been, so who knows if they go for that tomorrow or not. In the meantime, all of our eyes now continue to focus on Atlas V here, and it's worth noting that this is the Atlas 551 configuration, which, Max, for those who don't know, can you kind of break down what that all means?
Yes. So the 551 variant of the Atlas V is essentially the biggest and most powerful variant of the Atlas V that is currently available. So the first 5 indicates that it is using a 5-meter payload fairing, which is of course the biggest fairing that the Atlas V offers. And they used to fly with a 4-meter fairing, which is more of a triangular shape. But that stopped flying back in 2022 with the Submerged Geo 6 mission, I think it was. The second 5 indicates that it is that it has 5 solid rocket motors on it, and in this case, they are the GEM 63 motors made by Northrop Grumman. And the 1 indicates that there is a singular RD-180 engine on the Centaur upper stage as well. So, it says it's nicknamed the Bruiser, but there's literal video record of Tori Bruno calling the 551 the Beast. And that is the one and only time I've ever heard it called the Beast. But he's still on record calling it the Beast. So calling it the Bruiser feels kind of wrong. But yes, it is the largest and most powerful and quickest accelerating variant of the Atlas V as well. And you will notice that once all 5 solids light up, and that it gets off the pad in a real hurry. And also, because it's going off to a geostationary orbit tonight, it also has a rather aggressive gravity turn as well, which we won't really see from this perspective, because obviously it'll be turning and flying away from us here, from our perspective here at the Kennedy Space Center. But if you have a perspective north or south of the pad, you will notice an incredibly aggressive gravity turn, as like pretty much as soon as it clears the towers, it kicks over towards the east incredibly hard, and it gimbals the RD-180 incredibly aggressively. So it is a rather special beast to see fly, although this does feel like kind of the beginning of the end for the Atlas V, because this is the last non-Kuiper, non-Leo and non-Starliner assigned Atlas, and it's also the last Atlas going beyond low Earth orbit as well. Alex, how many Atlases do we have left? I think, what is it, 11 or 12?
Yeah, so after this mission, only 11 Atlas V rockets will remain. It's part of the stats. Yeah, I added it because I knew people were gonna be asking about this, so I thought, yeah, I'm gonna add that just as a little bit of an additional stat, if you will. But yeah, that is what we get here with this. It will also be the Atlas V 105th launch overall. So that's really interesting that, there's only going to be 116. Well, hang on.
Only.
Yeah, 116.
Only 116. That's still pretty good for a non-reusable rocket, you gotta admit. Anyway, here, as you hear the swoosh, that means we have an update here, and the fuel fill sequence is beginning. This procedure releases RP1 kerosene fuel into the RD-180 main engines in preparation for ignition.
Yep. So filling up the lines and getting the pumps. Well, the pump, because it's just one, filled up. It's usually also what is called engine priming. you don't want the pump to run dry right after you start that up. So they fill it up with the kerosene already.
Exactly. And most rockets do something similar, right?
Yep, Falcon 9 does the same thing with the Merlin engine. So,
Yeah, we typically call that engine chill down because it's a lot colder propellants running through it. This is less
No.
cold, right? Or
No,
is that different?
Merlin. So it's a different thing. So you've got engine chill down, which is just flowing the propellant. In this case, the cryogenic propellant. So the RD-180 also does engine chill, but that's with a liquid oxygen, right? Merlin also is. So both RD-180 and Merlin use kerosene and liquid oxygen, but this thing that they're doing is not about chilling down or preparing anything, conditioning or anything like that. It's just about filling the cavity of the pump. And it's also known as pump priming, essentially. You don't want to start the pump with just emptiness in that pump. The kerosene pump, it's not cold at all. Like, it's just, even the one on Falcon 9 on Merlin, even though the kerosene is lowered in temperature so that they can fit a little bit more in the tank, it's still not enough. Like, it's not enough that you really need to condition it thermally or anything like that. This is about filling the pump cavity so that there are no vacuum, there's no holes there that you can suck into the rest of the machinery of the engine, because that will be a really bad day for your engine. You're essentially filling up the pump, which is why they do the fuel fill sequence, as they call it. Also, apart from the pump, it's also like transfer lines into the engine, etc., that you have to fill up. It's a very common sequence. In the case of Falcon 9, I think that's usually done roughly like 90 minutes before the launch. So yeah, it's not even loaded with propellant at the point they do that.
There we go. I knew they all did it. I was just getting confused of which order and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the way, Max, I'll get to what Max was talking about earlier in a second because I want to add on to it. But yes, we are coming up on the planned hold. So again, this is the whole T minus L minus thing. Atlas and ULA use a T minus clock. So T minus clocks have built-in holds into them, whereas the L minus clock is the time to the actual liftoff. It does not stop. The only reason it would stop is if there is a hold in the count. So for right now, this planned hold is coming up in about 4 minutes. That will mark the T minus 4 minute and holding point. They will then hold for a little bit longer than that. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, we should be getting the go, no go poll at about the 7 minute mark, and then hopefully they will enter the terminal count shortly thereafter if all goes well. Now, Max was talking earlier about the different names. In case you didn't know, Atlas V does have a bunch of names. This one, 551 Bruiser, as you were pointing out, that Tori Bruno at one point called 551 the Beast, also called 541 the Dominator, but then said, you know what, I'm going to change my mind. And so 551 was the Bruiser, 541 was the Beast, 531 was the Thunderer, 511 was the Super Slider, 421 was the Sprinter, 411 was the Slider, and 401 was the Slick Atlas. You gotta love it.
Sawyer,
Yes.
do you know what the Starliner N22 variant was called?
Grounded.
Oh my god. Wow.
Oh, I don't even know if I can follow. Oh
That
my
hurts.
god. Ooh, Sawyer coming in with the savagery this evening. Jesus. No, I was just going to say it's actually called the Bodyguard, but good lord, I can't even it's not even it's not even funny anymore.
You're welcome. Oh boy. I'm gonna get in trouble for that, but that was funny. Anyway, this one, of course, with the 5 solid rocket boosters / motors. It can be argued which one you call it. But Alex, we had a question here asking from River Dave Kenny, how similar are these SRBs to Shuttle or Soyuz? I know Shuttle was a multi-segment, and these are basically just single segment ones, right?
Yeah, and Soyuz doesn't have SRBs either. I mean, unless you count the launch escape system for the crude variant. But yeah,
those are liquid.
Yep, those are liquid boosters on Soyuz. Although they technically call them the first stage, and then the central core is the second stage. It's a weird nomenclature that they run on Soyuz. But yeah, similar. They have nothing. I don't think even the way that the mixing of the propellant is even the same. I don't think that's even the case. They have one thing in common, which I should say. Whereas, so while the old boosters that Atlas V used were made by Aerojet Rocketdyne, the ones that it's flying with today and for the past few missions, it's been with a GEM 63, and that is made by Northrop Grumman, the same manufacturer as the ones for the shuttle. So there you go. Or at least in one of its past inceptions of whatever companies they bought.
Yeah, different names. It was Thiokol, Morton Thiokol, ATK, Orbital ATK, then Northrop Grumman, if I'm recalling the order correctly. By the way, at this point, we're also hearing that the orbital parameter calculations are beginning, so doing all of the final maths and everything to get the trajectory ready to go. And yes, I said maths. You're welcome, Jay. Meanwhile, LO2 on Atlas and Centaur are at flight levels, and everything continues to remain topping off at this point. And
Yep,
we are
and
about
should
to
be
enter.
hitting. You
Yep,
just
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Say it.
Yeah. Same idea. We're about to enter the T minus 4-minute hold. Yes, our clock will say L minus 34 minutes. It is a 30-minute hold. So yes, 34 minus 4 is 30-minute hold. We can
this
math.
is this is a replay of sort of what the mission, not replay, I guess it's like a I don't know.
An animation of
it's an
what we can
animation,
expect.
exactly, yeah. An animation of what the mission today will be doing to get Viasat out there. There'll be 3 burns of the Centaur upper stage to get it out there. The target orbit, as I quickly scroll through things here, should be 11,674 kilometers by 23,639 kilometers at a 5.99 degree orbit. The reason for that is because, well, that is the closest that Atlas V can get this rocket, this satellite, to its final geostationary Earth orbit position. The satellite will use its onboard propulsion to get all the way there, but this is a great push all the way out there. It should be roughly 1 kilometer per second for those that may know a little bit of orbital mechanics to get to geostationary orbit. So not a lot of propellant that it will need. It's gonna save a lot.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty impressive that it can get it that far out. It's almost most of the way there, at least for the apogee. So it's a good start.
Yep. On the first one launched by Falcon Heavy, they also did that as well. That's why that Falcon Heavy was fully expendable.
Exactly. And yeah, you can see there that the countdown is officially in that hole that we were just discussing. This is built in so that it gives a bit of margin to ensure we're ready for terminal count. Final readiness poll will happen at about the 7-minute mark. So once that releases, then the T minus and the L minus clocks are officially synced up, and all 3 cryogenic tanks on the rocket have topped off to flight level, as we were mentioning earlier. So we have a fully fueled vehicle. We also have the guy in charge typing, as you can see by the dot at the top.
You can see there as well another update that is very important.
Yep, communication channels in the ASOC, which is now the Advanced Spacecraft Operations Center, are quiet. Console operators monitor their systems during this hold. As you pointed out, Alex, Tori Bruno earlier saying that he thought his headset was broken because of how quiet the count has been so far, with no significant issues being worked.
That is good. That is the thing that we want from these launches.
Yeah, also that person keeps typing and
100%.
stopping and typing and stopping. Can you tell we're tired? This is what we're focusing on.
It's okay.
And here's another question, just going along with it. L Day L asking, why isn't there an Atlas V with 6 SRBs? Because they went with 5, and don't worry, they've resolved that with Vulcan. Vulcan has the option to launch with 0, 2, 4, or 6 SRBs, and we have not heard yet of any nicknames for those. So we'll have to ask Tori.
Well, also as well, putting sorry, Alex, I think also putting the solids on the Atlas V was the reason why it's asymmetric is they literally just fit on the solids wherever they have space and where they can. That's why if they have, I think 3 and 5, they are not mounted. I I guess, equally. And honestly, even when they have 4, they aren't mounted equally. Same when they have 2. They're mounted ever so slightly different. Whereas Vulcan was designed from the outset to support SRBs, and that is why you have the, I guess, why it looks the same on both sides when whether you have 2, 4, or 6. So I don't want to say solids were an afterthought on the Atlas V, but because obviously that wasn't true. But putting them on, it wasn't part of the initial design. So yeah, that's why. And also, whenever it launches with 1, it is a rather interesting. I haven't actually seen 1 launch with 1 before. I almost did. I think D has, right? Have you seen an Atlas launch with 1 before? 1 solid?
It's wild. I'll tell you that.
D says I think so. Okay.
I can tell you
Yes.
definitely that I have. That was Osiris Rex was a 401 or a 411, I believe. That was wild to see the power slide off the launch pad well before Astra did it, just saying. It was amazing just to see the plume underneath it curving as it's trying to fight against the force of the singular booster. That was so cool. And that may be cool, but you know what's warm? Our brand new sweaters that we have for the holiday season at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Check them out. We have 2 brand new designs in the knitted sweaters. And yes, we've been told that DOS is keeping all the grannies working overtime in the basement to actually knit these. Well, no, they're not knitted by grannies, but they are indeed knitted. We have 2 different designs. We have the Florida-esque one, or it could be West Coast one, with the Falcon 9 crew launch with 39A on one side, and then, of course, the booster recovery on the back. But is that actually Florida? Is it California? I don't know. I need your guys' opinion on it. We'll have to see what everyone says. And then, of course, yep, you see there the different designs. There's a lot of fun little features in there of little things to look for. You've got the parachutes on the back. You've got the landing on the back. You've got the drone ship recovery. But which drone ship is it? There's a lot of cool, fun things that you could figure out and taking a look at that in the shop. But of course, we have our Starship designed as well, coming in for a catch. And this sweater is quite the catch, I'll tell you that, if you want to get one for yourself or your family. And keep in mind, you want to order quickly so that you can actually guarantee that will arrive in time for the Christmas season. And that is all available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Now, do not adjust your sets because Falcon 9 is getting ready to adjust its trajectory as we come up for the automatic determination and dissemination of just updated steering terms file upload. That is the adjust. I love that acronym so stinking much. It's so cool.
Hey,
So,
Sawyer,
yeah.
I think you said Falcon 9,
Did I-
not Atlas 5.
Yeah, the rocket with the number. Sure.
Okay, Sawyer.
Atlas V. Sorry, I was looking at the Falcon 9 designs as we see here. Atlas V getting ready for the adjust file upload. Come on, that's the cool part. I like just focus on the adjust. It's where they upload all the final parameters and trajectories, taking into account the final weather briefing as well for winds as they load that into the computer. And as you see, speaking of, they're able to upload the adjust file because the weather is observed go for liftoff about a half hour from now as they get through the final planned weather briefing. And space weather conditions also are acceptable to proceed with the launch. And yes, this is not your ordinary Starlink. Thank you. Also, thank you to Samuel Ben, who became a PadRat member. And then Astro95 Media Nate with a $20 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com, saying, hope y'all can get some rest after this epic doubleheader today. Appreciate the heck out of the NSF team. Go Atlas. Thank you. We, while Atlas, almost said Falcon again. Well, Atlas may be fully fueled. We are indeed running on near empty here, but then again, we are just as fueled by rocket launches as you are. So thank you, everyone. Here's a question, Max, from Ian, who's saying, now that the government shutdown is open as of today, will the FAA lift the current time slot for launches, the restriction of the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. time slot?
You know, that's what it certainly seemed like that seemed to be a government shutdown only procedure, but they have seemed to prolong that. And I don't know off the top of my head if there was a timeline given in the new documentation, but that is currently the plan to keep that in place at least for a little bit longer. I don't know for how much, or if that's going to be a permanent thing, if that's just going to go away after a couple of weeks or a month. I'm not sure. I certainly hope not, because while we love night launches, whenever they launch past 1 a.m., it can be quite tiresome and quite, what's the word I'm thinking of? Sleep depriving. I guess that's 2 words. And plus, also, daytime launches are also a lot kinder to our cameras. So at the moment, that notice is being kept in place rather frustratingly, I have to add. We certainly did not see that coming. But we don't know if that's going to be lifted soon or if that's going to be in place for a while. I think we'll have to wait and see. As I often say, time will tell.
Nobody expects the FAA Inquisition.
No.
But yeah, also worth noting that in regards to the number of flight cancellations, still that was capped off at 6%, if I recall correctly. So yeah, they're still trying to get regular airports back to normal. So I doubt that we will see any updates to this until the air traffic control system in the United States and the airspace is back to running at full strength as well. Continuing along here, oh my goodness, Russell Snodgrass coming in with a $100 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com, saying, 2 big rockets in 1 day, awesome. Thanks, Sawyer, Alex, and Max for staying with us all day long. We appreciate the coverage. Well, we appreciate the support from you. Thank you so much, Russell, a name that we see here quite often with your support earlier in the New Glenn stream as well as now in the Atlas stream. Thank you so much, Russell. We really appreciate it. Big shout out to Russell in chat from everyone. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Titan Blade with a question. As we were going back to the SRBs, Alex, they're asking, with the Atlas having 5 solids, how do they control the asymmetric thrust?
Well, the RD-180 has a really good thrust vector control system, aka gimbaling system, which helps steering the rocket and compensate for the unsymmetrical thrust. So yeah, there are 3 on one side, 2 on the other, and it just can do that. Essentially, it's just capable of being able to tilt the engine enough so that it can compensate.
Yeah, Atlas V is an absolute beast when it comes to being able to do hard maneuvers and quick steering. I mean, the RD-180, which it's confusing. There are 2 engine bells, but it is a single engine. The RD-180 at the base of Atlas, besides putting off an awesome roar when it lifts off, has quite a lot of power and, as you pointed out, quite a lot of gimbal to it, which helps maneuver it to steer it. And that comes into a question from Hop Hayes. Max, are there any storing or shipping challenges that comes with Atlas V using those Russian RD-180 engines?
Storing by like having the engines in storage?
I guess.
Storage
or,
shipping.
Because in terms of shipping, obviously, they're not taken anymore.
Yeah, and I think the last RD-180 was sold and acquired back in, I think, 2020 or 2021, maybe 2019. I'm not quite sure. But there was a deal struck between the powers that be after the fall of the Soviet Union back in 91. I know I'm terrible at history. Yeah.
Yep.
And so obviously there was a deal struck there where the U.S. was allowed to purchase said Soviet-made engines, which were incredibly efficient, but obviously not reusable for what they were using with the space shuttle or other launch vehicles at that time, like Titan and other variants of Atlas as well. So in terms of storage and shipping, I think besides them coming from a foreign country, and also a former a foreign adversary, I don't think there was really anything majorly special about that, other than them being able to be stored for quite a long time, because they had to, because they had no other use after they were produced back in the late 80s, early 90s. So obviously they have found their way into the Atlas family of rockets, and they are, I think, well, their last launches are almost here. So yeah, it is a rather unique engine, and we can hear that sometimes on the microphone where it doesn't quite make the, I guess, whoop sound that the Titan II made, but it has this really aggressive thud as both the canisters inside the turbopumps ignite, and we see this big green flash come through both engine bells, and it roars it into life immediately. Yeah, it is a very, very special engine. But to answer your question completely, and I know this is very long-winded and circular. I don't think so, other than them coming from a foreign country.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why they've stopped making Atlas V. Of course, there was a plan to go to Vulcan anyway, but
Yes.
yeah, with the issues ongoing with Russia and Ukraine and all of that, the United States basically said, "Yeah, we're done buying engines from that. We want everything American made." That's why Antares will also be using American made engines. Vulcan will also be using the BE4s, of which we saw 7 of them flying today. So these are kind of just using them until they're gone. And once they're gone forever. Oh wait, this isn't a store plug, sorry. Let's see. Mr. Fluffy saying still hanging out on the best coast where the Mexican food is amazing. Oh, you're out on the East Coast? I didn't know that. Cool. Welcome over finally from the West Coast.
It's pretty good here too. I hate to break your heart. It's pretty good here too.
There we go. And also important weather-wise, the upper level winds have now been verified acceptable for launch at the opening of the window, 10:04 p.m. Eastern Time or 3:04 Universal Coordinated Time, or UTC, whatever they call it nowadays. Back in my day, it was Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah, it's from the French, I think.
Sure, something like that. Let's see here. Here's one from Human. I'll throw this one over to you, Alex. Why does ULA encapsulate the second stage in the fairing for the 5 meter, but not the 4 meter? Are there any other rockets that have the second stage in the fairing?
Well, the reason for that is because of the thin walls of the Centaur upper stage. It's stainless steel, but it is still very, very thin, right? And so it's balloon stable. It's like this sort of balloon design where it's pressure stabilized and whatnot. So when it goes up in the 5 meter configuration, it just needs the fairing cannot be sort of hold to the upper stage, and so it needs to also encapsulate the second stage because of the structural margins that they have. With the 4 meter fairing, they can, and this is one of the main differences. There's another one, which is even though you can fly the Atlas V with the 5 meter configuration without solid rocket boosters, and it's flown like that, for example, with the X-37B spaceplane, right? Normally when it flies with a lot of SRBs, and it flies with 5 of them instead of, for example, the maximum with a 4 meter fairing was 3. So you couldn't have like a 4-4-1 configuration, for example, or a 4-5-1 configuration. That was not allowed, and the reason for that, it's also because with the extra solid rocket boosters, the rocket just goes through the atmosphere too fast for the Centaur upper stage to be able to take those loads. So that was one of the things that happened with the Centaur 3 upper stage. Now, if you've seen Vulcan, it uses the Centaur 5, and that is much wider. It's roughly 5 meters in diameter. The fairing can actually be supported on top. So there's lots of things there, improvements, if you will, structurally to be able. It's still very, very steel thin wall design, right? But it's built differently so that it can support that. Also, the fact that the fairing is also the same size as the diameter of the Centaur kind of helps as well to be able to support that. But for example, in this case, at the top of the Centaur 3 upper stage, they have a sort of like a disc structure, if you will, that holds and sort of supports part of the loads, but not the entire loads of the fairing because of that.
Exactly. Also, I saw someone say, imagine 2 shuttle SRBs on Atlas. That would look like Titan. Yes, that would basically be
Oof.
Titan on steroids, and I kind of love it.
Long live Titan. That was a great rocket.
Oh, it was so nice.
Titan 4B especially.
It was so cool looking, and again, Titan with the heritage at some of the most famous pads at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station too, which is cool.
Like the one you're seeing in
3640.
front of you.
Exactly the point. Yep. It launched as well from 41 back in the day. Oh boy. Let's see here. Let me take a second. Thank some people. Megan getting something from the shop. Let me see what Megan got. They got one of the sweaters. Awesome. Hopefully you'll be able to stay warm this holiday season. I know it's even been a little chillier on the Cape side right now. Which Max is it kind of still chilly up there?
Yeah, I noticed it like right before I sat down for us to go live. Like there was a chill came up my back as the wind was coming over. Granted, I was only wearing a sun shirt, but also it is also rather chilly. D is in a hoodie and also a jacket. I also put a jacket on as well. It has gotten properly chilly. I want to say it's around. Actually, let me check my phone real quick. It is currently 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So do the quick calculations for Celsius. Now I can't. My brain is fried. Yeah, it has gotten a bit chilly, but of course, with the air being a bit thicker down here with the humidity, it just carries differently and it sticks to you. So, yes, although I think the temperature should be getting back into the 80s this weekend, which would be a nice change, but also the temps coming down this low was quite refreshing. So, I could go either way in terms of it staying this cooler or warming back up, but just as long as it isn't snowing, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a little over 14 Celsius for 58 Fahrenheit. But yeah, it was a little bit of a breeze. It was a nice chill though. And let's see here. We also had someone getting one of your prints, Max, from the shop, saying thank you NSF for all the great Rocket Geek coverage. Thank you for watching and getting one of the I think that was one of your remote shots.
Yes, yeah, that was my engine shot that I had set up to the west of Slick 36, or sorry, LC 36, for the launch today. We actually just got back from picking up the cameras, maybe an hour and a half before even going live this evening for Atlas. So it was a rather quick turnaround and a very busy day overall. So yes, thank you very much for that. That really means a lot. Whenever somebody picks up my print, that's mine. It always it hits differently. It every single time. And that image was certainly special. And there is still more to come with New Glenn. I just haven't had time to go through everything yet because of how fast paced everything has been. So there's more to come.
Same. I know you, Dee, Julia, myself, we all have photos from today's launch in the shop. So if you want something from earlier today from that launch, make sure you check it out. There's a lot to visualize there. Also, you could see, besides that Mystery Man is typing again, the vehicle systems engineer polling the Denver technical team, which is kind of like where all of their smarty pants people are based out of. Well, let's see. Of course, they update it right as we're looking at it. They've conducted evaluation of everything, and that results will be routed to the ULA Director of Engineering, who will then give their readiness for launch. When we get to the poll, which should be in about 5-ish minutes from now, we will hear the go, no-go poll, hopefully, in which everyone will say whether they are ready or not for launch at 10:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, Jason, thank you for the $20 super chat saying thanks for the continued coverage of all things space. Very much appreciate it. See, Fazilla asking, along with Kaufman BA, both asking any cruise ship blocking the view this evening? Any trouble expected with cruise ships?
Oh God, too soon. Too soon. Too soon, friendly fire.
If there was a cruise in this view, I would be really, really worried.
I think we'd have bigger problems at that point. Yeah.
That's true. And you can see they're looking at the port where we have the boosters over there. I believe one of them is still on the stand. The other one, it looks like they're processing as well for Falcon 9. Hopefully we will see the New Glenn booster coming in there in the next couple of days. But yeah, no issues with that. They've all moved out of the way, and the entire back channel is now in tears. Let's see here. Yes, people talking about the cold. Anyway, they've been notified that the payload has successfully switched to internal power, putting the satellite into the correct launch configuration, which for those who might just be joining as we get into the final 11 minutes of the count here, do you mind giving a quick recap, Alex, of what this satellite actually is and what it will do?
Yeah, so the Viasat-3 satellite is a communications satellite. It's this giant 6 metric ton spacecraft. It's a really, really big big satellite, and it's going to be sort of supporting about 1 terabit per second of data with a big deployable antenna that it's going to be deploying out there once it reaches geostationary orbit, roughly 35,000 kilometers above Earth. So this is from Viasat as the sort of, even though it says 3, doesn't mean it is the third satellite or it is anything like that. It is the second of the Viasat-3 trio of satellites, the first one having launched on Falcon Heavy a couple of years ago. This one is launching today on an Atlas V, and hopefully in the future we'll see when the third of these Viasat-3 satellites launches and which rocket they decide to choose. Because at one point it was supposed to be Ariane 5, then Ariane 6, and now it's like question mark. So we'll see. But yeah, communication satellite, high throughput, very big, 6 metric tons in mass. Really a beast of a satellite. Talking while
muted.
Yeah, which, wow, the echo on that. Yeah, so will they go for the trifecta? Viasat-3 launching on 3 different vehicles with Falcon Heavy, Atlas V, and Ariane 6. We'll have to see. Other thing that we will have to see is hopefully this rocket launching about 9.5 minutes from now. I know we talked briefly about it being a little chilly, but otherwise, weather-wise, Max, how's everything looking?
Really about as good as it can get. There really is not much in the way of wind here. The skies are absolutely cloudless, and there's no moon out currently. Yeah, as good as it really can get. And in terms of the upper level winds and everything else, it is obviously, as we have just discussed, everything is in the green. So Atlas V could not be asking for any better weather to launch in tonight.
And before we let you go, because we're coming up on the poll in just a couple of minutes here, for people who might want to view this tonight, Max, which way is this one going?
So the good part about this one is it's launching straight east. So whether you are north or south of the pad, depending on how far away you are, your view is going to be about the same. I know anywhere in Cape Canaveral is a very, very popular spot, whether it be Jetty Park, Cocoa Beach, and going all the way down to Satellite Beach as well, kind of by the Patrick Space Force Base. You really cannot get a bad view. It's not a Falcon 9 where you can watch the entry burn down on the horizon, but Atlas V is a unique treat all in its own. But that's not to say if you are north of the pad in like New Smyrna, Daytona, even up to Jacksonville, that your view would be bad. You're just in a different position. Honestly, I say it's flying directly east. It is flying like somewhat southeast,
5 degrees
but
off from east.
yeah,
Basically.
but more or less it's flying straight east. So I think
Yeah.
the view whether you are north or south of the pad is going to be about the same. Obviously,
we remain in the planned 30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, ULA launch conductor Ed Kidda will pull the team for the final go to pick up the countdown. The launch conductor manages the launch team during the...
And that's giving that. So, Max, I know you've got to work on your cameras here, so as we get ready for that go, no-go poll, do we have a go from you?
Indeed. Let's do it one more time today, everybody. So thank you very much, and I will see y'all on the other side.
Looking forward to it, and hopefully we will see everyone on the other side of the go, no-go poll, and hopefully it will all be go. Let's listen in.
L-7 minutes.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems. Propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems. Propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
Electrical systems. Airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Op support.
Go.
Com.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
Environmental control systems.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range and weather.
Go.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
And there we go. You heard it. A clean poll.
team is go for-
Everyone is go for launch. And I see chat also with all of the goes. We have permission to launch from chat as well. Everything proceeding at this point. So now we will enter the final terminal portion of the countdown at L minus 4 minutes, which will be the same as T minus 4 minutes once they resume that clock again. So the liftoff time set for 10:04:00 Eastern for right now. So Alex, what can we expect after we enter the terminal portion of the count at T minus 4 minutes?
Yeah, so one of the things that's going to happen, for example, will be the end of replenishment of both liquid oxygen on both stages and also liquid hydrogen on the upper stage. They're going to be finishing that up and also clearing out all of the remaining propellant in those lines as well. Going to transition the rocket into internal power. The rocket will also take control of the count as well. They're going to be doing a lot of things in those last 4 minutes of the count. You can also think, for example, bringing up the tanks to flight pressure, switching to internal power, etc., etc. There's going to be a whole lot of things going on in those just 4 last minutes of the count, hopefully going from L minus to T minus.
Exactly. We will wait for that clock to transition over in about 20 seconds from now. And you can see there the fairing with the Viasat on top, Atlas V, the 5-meter fairing on 551, meaning 5 solid rocket motors as well, and the single RL-10 upper stage engine. And at this point, we should now be released from the hold. That will be L minus or T minus 4 minutes and counting. So that should be the start here of the terminal count sequence. Everything at this point looking good. The clock is indeed rolling.
Yep.
Man, you can see that venting, everything else you see happening currently normal on the vehicle. So right now it is fully loaded up with the kerosene, RP1, for the first stage, along with the liquid oxygen. The second stage using the liquid oxygen as well as hydrogen for its propellant on the upper stage. So right now, coming up on 3 minutes to go. Everything seems all right for so far. Again, we're going to continue to listen in for updates, and we'll provide them to you as we hear them from the launch control team. And Alex, so far it sounds like everything proceeding.
Yeah, Atlas first stage liquid oxygen replenishment is being secured, and the ground pyrotechnics have been armed to release the vehicle from the launch pad at liftoff. So everything proceeding nominally so far through the final minutes here through that terminal count. Tanks are now pressurizing for flight.
And yep, there we go. Tank pressurization, also securing all the propellants on board the vehicle at this point. Coming up on 2.5 minutes to go until launch. So far, everything proceeding as scheduled up to this point. Obviously, there's lots of small vehicle checks and things happening internally at this point. The rocket monitoring most, if not all of it, up to now. Alex, of course, if you hear any updates, please chime in.
Not hearing anything that will prevent still a launch today. So still everything continuing to tick down. 2 minutes to go. The start command has been issued to the launch sequencer. The sequencer will perform independent verifications of systems for the rest of the countdown, control the detachment of umbilicals from the vehicle, and release the rocket from the pad at liftoff. The RP1 kerosene and liquid oxygen tanks on the first stage have gone up to flight pressures. And the Atlas and Centaur stages have switched from ground power to internal batteries. So right now, heading into the final few seconds here, 1 minute and 21 seconds to go.
Yep, the flight termination system is in fact armed. So if anything were to go wrong, that is the command that would detonate the vehicle. But right now, the flight software on the vehicle also going active at this time. Coming up now on 1 minute to go.
T-minus 1 minute.
1 minute. Rock, report range status.
Range green.
There we go.
All right, and at this point, the firing chain should be armed as well. The solid rocket booster is ready for ignition. The range continues to be green at this point. The final status check should be coming up about 20 seconds from now, and hopefully that's when we get all of the goes.
Stable at step 3.
There we go. Confirmed the range green. Let's listen in for that final status check just a couple seconds from now.
28.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified.
25.
Status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur. Go Viasat.
15 seconds to go until launch. Of course, we will let you hear the sounds of
T-minus
launch once they
10,
reach our microphones.
9,
9.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We have ignition.
There's ignition and liftoff of Atlas V and Viasat-3 Flight 2 on its way to geostationary orbit.
You are hearing
Max Q,
Daniel
max
Brunson,
dynamic pressure.
providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Vehicle's throttling back up to near full power. Passing 3 miles downrange, approaching 8 miles in altitude. Body rates continue to look nominal. Hydraulics looking good. Passing 7 miles downrange.
You can see quite active. It appears to be the ice
Vehicle
coming off
being
there.
throttled
Again,
down
the
in preparation for SRB burnout.
5 solid rocket boosters doing their job up to this point, putting on quite a show.
At this point in flight, vehicle is now half of its original liftoff weight.
So far coming up on solid rocket booster jettison in just about 10 seconds or so from now.
And we have good indication of burnout on all 5 SRBs. Vehicle throttling back up to full power.
And next should be the separation.
Passing 30 miles downrange, 28 miles in altitude.
And there they go.
we go.
And good indication of SRB jettison on all 5 SRBs.
You can see them tumbling in the
Body rate
plume
continue
there
to
from
look
our ground track.
And your parameters looking good.
We just heard confirmation of solid rocket booster
Everything
jettison.
looking good. And yes, for those wondering, SRBs can burn on the sparkier side, but that was likely ice that was also hitting into it, Alex. That seemed funny just because of the angle our camera was at, but still nominal, right?
Yeah, I didn't see anything of nominal in that. Seemed pretty much like the previous Atlas Vs that we've seen.
Right now, closed loop steering and is showing good body rates. So everything is steering where it needs to go, turning as it needs to turn. So far, looking straight as an arrow. Engine
For a little
now-
bit. Sorry, continue.
5G
No, you go ahead.
acceleration in preparation for
I was going to
Payload.
mention for a little bit the rocket sort of goes on sort of
Close to
heading
60
in,
miles an
in one
altitude.
certain direction and things like that.
6,600 miles per
But
hour.
now that is
Now we've
in
got
closed
activation
loop
of the
steering,
second stage
what it's
RCS
doing is
system.
just actually reacting to
Hydrogen
where
coming up to
it
5
actually
pressures.
is instead of just aiming sort of aimlessly, in one particular direction. It's a bit of a difference there in the kind of guidance that they do. Very similar to when, for example, in the shuttle, they also jettisoned the boosters. But speaking of jettison, we should be coming up on that fairing
And good
separation.
indication of PLF separation.
Oh,
Flight
there it
commentator
is.
Daniel
That might be
Brunson
it.
just got out
Yep,
Yep, you
confirmation
should look
of
to
payload
the
fairing
puff
jettison.
from
The payload
our view on the
fairing,
ground
commonly
there.
referred to by many experts across the industry as the pointy end of the
we may
rocket,
even see
serves
soon.
to protect the spacecraft from those.
Yep. Pyro valve also opening on the Centaur upper stage, allowing the helium to pressurize the reaction control system. Meanwhile, first stage, as pointed out there, the fairing halves separating and everything looking good. Atlas V now weighing just a quarter of what it weighed at liftoff, 210 miles downrange,
And we've
10,000
begun boost stage
miles
kill down
per
of the
hour.
upper stage engines.
And we're about 20 seconds away from main engine cutoff, or MECO, the shutdown of that single RD-180 engine. Yes, with 2 engine bells, but it's 1 engine.
Yep. Chilling down.
Now,
The
150
RL-10.
kilometers in altitude, by the way.
And we've completed boost phase chill down.
Yep. Coming up on Pico, booster engine cut off.
And good shutdown. That's Pico.
There we go.
And now that will be the separation and the ignition of the
indication for
RL-10.
separation. Pre-start on LO2 and LH2.
There's the pre-start.
Ignition.
And here
And
we go.
full thrust.
Main engine start. That is the RL-10 upper stage engine doing what it's supposed to do, firing up, and now that will continue to push Viasat-3 Flight 2 onto its planned trajectory. So far, Alex, everything looks good.
Yeah. This burn is going to be a little bit long compared to what we're used to with Falcon. Much closer to what we've seen, for example, with the New Glenn second stage. Shutdown of the Centaur upper stage should be at T plus 11 minutes and 35 seconds. And then we'll have a relight approximately 10 minutes later, once it is over the equator, to do the injection to the transfer orbit, the initial transfer orbit. And then there will be another burn about 3 hours later at T plus 3 hours, 26 minutes and 55 seconds, which will put the Viasat-3 satellite into its final orbit for deployment.
There we go. And that shutdown confirmed at T plus 4 minutes, 49 seconds with the separation there. Again, the vehicle now weighs 7% of what it weighed at launch. And right now, all the engine parameters are healthy and normal. You pointed out the body rates with the steering. Everything is reporting well with that. Meanwhile, now 1,000 kilometers down range, 210 kilometers in altitude, traveling at 6 kilometers per second per the data you see there on the screen. And this now, as you pointed out, we still have about 4 more minutes left in this burn. Quite different from what you're seeing with Falcon 9 and with Starlinks, especially considering that's also low Earth orbit versus geostationary transfer orbit in this case. Which, for those who don't know, how much of a difference are we talking with altitude for that?
Yeah, so normally on a traditional GTO mission, Geosynchronous Transfer Orbit mission, hey, we can see there that RL-10 nozzle extension glowing. But yeah, in a normal GTO mission, we can expect a novel shaped trajectory sort of orbit, right? Where the sort of lowest point in that orbit is close to low Earth orbit, roughly 200 to 300 kilometers in altitude, while the apogee is all the way out there to geostationary orbit, which is roughly 35,000 kilometers, give or take, depending on the satellite size, the type of mission profile, etc. That can change a little bit here and there, but it's roughly the typical sort of geostationary transfer orbit. However, for this one, it's an optimized one. Instead of leaving it there, the Centaur upper stage will remain with a payload out there to that apogee, to that highest point in the orbit, which will be a little bit lower than 35,000 kilometers. Instead, will be roughly 23,000 kilometers instead. But it'll do another burn, a third burn of that upper stage engine, in order to be able to raise the lowest point up to 11,600 kilometers in altitude, leaving it a lot closer to that final roughly 35,000 kilometer altitude orbit. It's way out there, right? We're talking about this sort of orbit where the period of the orbit is similar. It's essentially the same as the rotation of the Earth, and therefore, if you have an antenna, you just have to point it to one point in the sky, and only that part, it's always going to be there, that satellite, right? Hence geostationary orbit. So that is the difference that we're going to have on this mission, where it's like it's closer to that geostationary orbit than what we're used to. As I said before, the Viasat-3, the first of these satellites that was launched on Falcon Heavy, it launched on an expendable version of Falcon Heavy precisely because it was also launched to this optimized sort of geostationary transfer orbit. It was a lot closer even than what Atlas V is going to launch this one to, leaving it sort of like 34,000 kilometers in altitude out there. But yeah.
145 miles in altitude. Engine parameters continue
There we
to
go.
healthy.
Yep, everything looks good and sounds good up to this point. All the data, by the way, is switched from ground stations to the tracking data relay satellite system. So that is a bunch of in-orbit satellites that are used for low and medium Earth orbit kind of communications. Originally launched back in the day by the space shuttle. Obviously, they've done more optimized ones since then. Coming up now on about almost 10 minutes into flight and still about 2 to 3 more minutes
minutes
left
to plan
in
Miko.
this burn. 2 minutes, there you go, as we've heard. And Miko, the cutoff there of that second stage engine. So far, everything looks good. You can see we're starting to get towards a positive perigee. Again, that's the lowest point in the orbit. Once that goes positive up to a certain point, that will actually mean that you have an orbit.
And for once, this is in kilometers.
What? You mean this isn't like what we saw earlier?
I was struggling
Vehicle
so
body
much
rates
during the
continue to
New
look
Glenn
nominal.
launch.
RCS thrusters.
I know they
firings
want to go all
continuing as
American,
expected.
but yeah, whatever.
Moon landing units, right?
Actually, they
Passing
used
1800 miles down
meters,
range.
but whatever.
Well, yeah.
For the displays, they used feet because you Americans don't know what meters. Anyways, let's continue, shall we?
Oh boy,
1 minute
about a
to
minute
plan
or so
Miko.
left. Hey, I just said that. About a minute to go. And so far, everything looks good. Atlas V remains on course up to this point. So far, so good.
Yep, that perigee slowly getting into positive numbers here.
There we go. That's getting us closer to orbit. And we should be coming
30
up on
seconds
shutdown
to
about
Miko 1.
beating me to it about 30 seconds.
Every
from
single
now.
time you say it, he beats you to it. And
This is
Here
Atlas
comes
Mission Control
orbit.
at
And
L
we have
plus
IIP
11 minutes
vanish.
and 10
there we go. Now
Looks
still
good.
racing it.
And still going. And if I say something about
And Miko,
Miko
1.
1,
Shutdown.
then we'll
There we
have
go.
it.
Settling has gone to 4S mode. Vehicles begun
And there we
returning
go.
to our second burn attitude.
And as mentioned, there is a second burn
All those
in
parameters
about
look healthy.
10 minutes from
This will
now.
be a 10-minute coast for our second burn.
We've
Why-
just
why do
heard
I even talk?
confirmation of the successful
Thank
first
you,
burn.
voice of ULA. But that looks spectacular from what we could see. Max, how was that from where you were?
Man, Atlas is so much fun, especially on a night like tonight where there's like no wind to either suppress the sound or make the sound behave differently. We heard all of that basically as raw as we could from our distance. We heard the concussion of the RD-180 ignition, and then just the absolute thud and just bang when the SRBs lit. It was phenomenal. And also incredibly pretty because SRBs burn quite differently than any other liquid-fueled rocket engines in that you probably saw a lot of sparks coming out from all 5 solid rocket motors that were, I should say, equipped on Atlas V tonight. In that they just burn a lot differently. They burn a lot dirtier, and the exhaust particulates are, I guess, for lack of a better term, like a solid. Like it's not, you aren't expelling just gas, you are expelling solid particulates as well. So that is a lot of what we saw. But because of that, it also burns incredibly bright. And it also comes with a very unique sound profile in that as well, with it crackling as much as it does. Atlas is so much fun, dude. I'm really sad to see it going away, but trying to enjoy it while we can. But it was magnificent.
Exactly. And we will have replays and slow motion replay included coming up very shortly. So stick around for that. Of course, we're also sticking around for that relight of the engine, which should be about 8 minutes or so from now. But everything looks like the booster performed absolutely perfectly. And yeah, it's hard to describe the sound of the Atlas engine startup. There's that kind of roar and then a thump, I guess the best way to describe it, where you hear each of the different engines doing their sort of startup procedure. They're pretty much back to back in the matter of about 1 or 2 seconds, but it is very obvious that that is an Atlas V launching if you know what to listen for.
Absolutely.
let's see, 14 minutes. I do need to thank some people. We've had some support that I've not been able to get to as we got into the thick part of the count here. I'm not sure what else to call it. The deep part of the count. Roseanne DeVasto saying, tried to tip, hope it worked. Anyways, today's coverage was nothing short of magnificent. Thank y'all. Thank you, Roseanne, a name that we see here very often. We appreciate it. And again, this is not us with the animation, by the way. This is United Launch Alliance doing it themselves. So if you see the weird click and move, you see the GTA 3 graphics, that's not us, okay? Just fair warning. Captain Kirsch also gifting a Red Team membership earlier. Appreciate that. P68 Adventure, sorry didn't get to that before, asking if you'd be able to see it from Mobile, Alabama. Hopefully you were able to see it. If anyone did go out and see it and happen to get pictures or videos, please send it to us on the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky. I love seeing people's shots from it. And again, you'll see some of our team's shots in just a little bit. I'm seeing some teasers in the back channel, and they're really, really nice. And there they are. Those are the three main ones there up in the corner of the screen. And then Leon also becoming a Pad Rat member. Thank you very much for that. So, Alex, how long about does it take to get to its final planned trajectory before Atlas releases it? And then about how long does it take from there to actually get into its planned orbit?
Yeah, Atlas V, it's going to take a while, mostly because of orbital mechanics. It takes a while to get out there. So this second burn should be coming up in about 9 minutes. Actually, less than that. I was reading the wrong time. It should be at about 6 minutes from now. And then there's going to be another burn about T plus 3 hours and 26 minutes into the mission. And that'll be the one that'll put the Viasat satellite into that sort of deployment orbit. As I mentioned, though, it's going to take a while until then it reaches its final orbit, because the orbit that Atlas V is leaving this on, it's not the one that it's going to be operating. That is going to be geostationary orbit. It's probably going to take a couple of months to get there. If I'm not mistaken, this one uses electric propulsion, which means it's a slow, very efficient, but very, very low thrust propulsion, which means it's going to take a while to get there. Thankfully, though, because this launch is putting it out there closer to geostationary orbit, it's going to take a lot less time than you would expect from a traditional GTO mission. So thanks to that, at least, it's going to be out there a lot sooner.
Yeah, sooner, of course, being respective in that point. This is one of the photos we were talking about from the field. This from Julia Bergeron out on the Space Coast. Absolutely gorgeous night. Love seeing the streak shots, especially for these night launches. And it's hard to adjust for how bright these solids actually are. Julia doing a great job with that.
We need the adjust file, I guess.
Tommy, just as I was sipping my drink, darn it, I almost spit it out. And then Max, gorgeous shot from you as well. I mean, people don't realize how different it is to shoot exposure-wise, even for New Glenn versus this versus Falcon. They're all so different.
Well, that and also just in terms of speed as well. I mean, the 551 Atlas is, I think, among the quickest, I think, if not the quickest accelerating vehicle we currently have here in Florida right now. Well, I should say launch vehicle, to be more specific. I think once Vulcan flies with 6 solids, it will, I think, healthily eclipse the 551 Atlas. But until then, it is a beast to see fly. It certainly gets off the pad a lot faster than Falcon and than anything else as well. Certainly that rocket we saw fly earlier today, what was that called again? Like Blue Glenn or Blue New Origin, something like that?
Are you making fun of
New
me? 'Cause that's what I
Origin.
said when I joined the stream before we went live.
No, not at all.
Yes, when I came in, I was trying to say New Glenn, and I accidentally said New Origins and Blue Glenn, but not the actual correct one. But yeah, I mean, Vulcan does put on quite a speed show as well, I will say. But yeah, Atlas leaps off the pad. Let's see here. As the flaming end pointed up. But yeah, the flamey end was down, the pointy end was up. I heard them even mention it a bit on the ULA broadcast, the pointy end.
Minimal RCS firings. Battery bus voltage,
And
helium bottle pressure, all looking nominal.
And you see those sort of RCS thrusts, Alex, the reaction control system thrust. What exactly do they use on Atlas V for that to kind of keep it oriented for its trajectory here?
Yeah, not only to do that, to be able to orient the second stage and point it in the right direction, because you don't want that doing a certain maneuver that certain rockets have done in the past where it's been pointed the wrong way. Police. Anyways, and so yeah, so one of those is that, but of course now we're seeing this is going on for a while. You can imagine what that is for, right? Because it is in orbit. This is 0G because it's constant free fall, etc., etc. So it needs settling. So right now they're firing those thrusters on the back of the second stage. See that all the thruster? That was not for settling. That was for attitude control. You can notice that because, well, this one is obviously pushing back, meaning it's sort of settling those propellants in the tank down to the bottom for engine ignition. Hopefully, I think it's like a minute, 2 minutes or so, more or less. It'll depend on when the guidance
Seeing
systems
expected increases
sort of.
to LH2 tank pressure.
Preparation
for
there you
restart.
go. Preparing for the restart on the tanks. But yeah, the guidance systems will tell when it is the time to execute that burn. The missile knows when it is because it knows when it isn't, or something like that, right?
Well, there's
There we
your
go.
answer.
1 minute.
1 minute to go. But yes, you heard the liquid hydrogen tank pressure is dropping as expected ahead of the reignition. As you pointed out, the settling, you could see those RCS thrusters on the back doing their job. Do we know how long this one will be for?
This one shouldn't be too long, or at least not as long as the other one. It's about 5 minutes. 5 minutes and 20 seconds, at least per the plan.
When your first burn is 7 minutes, anything after that seems quick.
LH2 pre-start.
Yeah. There we go. Pre-start on the engine. Getting those pumps.
And we should have main engine start too.
And LO2 pre-start.
There we go.
That's liquid oxygen.
Takes a while for the RL10 to light up. There we go.
Full thrust. That's what we like to hear. So that is ignition of the RL10 engine again. Of course, we don't have actual onboard video as of now for this one. A lot of that data, again, coming through tracking data relay satellite network, which the bandwidth is a little bit more restrictive, especially with live video. So we continue to see the animation, although the data
Live
that we are
telemetry.
seeing is live, yes.
Yep, top right corner, you can see there, live data. But yeah, that RL10 engine takes a while to start because of the cycle that it uses. It uses the same heat exchange of the hydrogen because it's cold, and then it sort of goes through the engine, and then it goes through the nozzle and everything, and it warms up. And as it warms up, it becomes a gas, and that expanding gas essentially turns the pump. So that's why they started first the hydrogen part. It started the pumps. It was sort of ramping up in power, and then they were able to start the oxygen side. And as soon as that started and pressures went up to the conditions that they wanted, then the engine lights up and shoosh, you have thrust on the engine. And now that it's lit up, well, the exhaust of the engine already sort of warms up the hydrogen, and it keeps going on its own. It's very, very efficient.
I like the scientific sound, the whoosh there. That
probably sounds more like whoa, right?
That's the sound of all time right
weird,
there.
some kind of weird monster sound.
Why do I feel like Space Pope is going to edit that into some kind of thing for Flame Trench?
Probably, yeah. But I deserve it for saying it.
And at this point, everything appears to be nominal with all the system parameters that are streaming back from the Atlas V rocket. This is the second of 3 burns. Again, that third one
continuing as expected.
That third one is expected hours from now. So this is the last of the soon burns, shall we say. And you can see that, again, the bottom, that apogee increasing very quickly. It was a couple 100 kilometers. Now it's at about 4,300 kilometers. So And that's just in 2 minutes. There's still 3 more minutes to go.
Yeah.
It's also slightly confusing for people that are used to SpaceX launches where you hear this as MECO 2, even though this is the second stage, but they consider the first stage, there's the solids, and then it's booster engine cutoff. They call that BECO, so that's the booster, and this is the main engine, so that's MECO.
Yep. You can also see, apart from the apogee racing there, you can also see the inclination. Even though it's not optimal to change the inclination here in this part of the trajectory, they still try to shave a little bit of that inclination. It's gone from roughly 28.3.4 degrees now down to 26.6.
And eventually that will turn down to 5.99.
Yep.
So yeah, and a lot of that is just using the optimization of where you're launching from and the spin of the Earth to kind of get that extra speed boost. They're figuring right now the best thing to do is to get the speed going, get to orbital velocity, and now this burn here, and then eventually when it's more efficient, they can go for the inclination change. But everything sounding good. Engine pressures, tank pressures, power systems are all as
90
planned.
seconds left in this burn.
There we go.
Just about to ask, how much time do we have left?
But yeah, generally changing the inclination, it's a lot easier out there where you're going slower because, orbital mechanics will probably take a long time to explain, but that's essentially why it's not as efficient right now because they are too close to Earth.
Yep, anyone who's played Kerbal can attest to the easiest times to do the inclination changes.
We had
1 minute to MECO.
A couple of years ago. There we go. 1 minute to go. Again, I can sneak in this anecdote, I guess. But a couple of years ago, I think it was XP, right, on Falcon 9, where we had the orbital Tokyo drifting, if you will, where it went in low Earth orbit at this altitude. It went from 28 degrees inclination to 0 degree inclination, but the payload was super, super tiny, so it was able to do that. It was super cool, though.
Yeah, we're talking escapade-sized payloads.
Yep.
It's a low Earth orbit, so yeah, it could handle that. 30 seconds left to go on this burn. You can see now the apogee already 18,000 kilometers up. So they are zipping here, coming up shortly on MECO 2.
Look at that apogee.
22,000. And climbing.
And good shutdown.
Yeah, still
MECO
a little
2.
bit more, and there you go.
Settling has resumed 100% as expected. Body rates responding accordingly.
Beautiful.
And now,
vehicles beginning to turn to S3 attitude.
Yep.
And vehicles enter.
They're probably going to be putting it in a roll or something because it's now a 3-hour coast out there to apogee. That 23,000, nearly 500 kilometer apogee out there, that highest point in the orbit. And then they're going to do another relight of that engine. And the perigee, the lowest point in the orbit, should be raised up to roughly 11,674 kilometers. But as we can see, that seems to be it for ULA's coverage.
I was going to say, as we saw, of course, we have our team still out there and our replays and videos. Also, we have
this.
Absolutely. Also, I need to continue to thank some people here. Hop Hayes saying, can we get side-by-side comparison of each vehicle, Glenny versus Atlas V speed on the pad? Cheers from Indianapolis, watching my Atlas V Scrub 1 shirt. We could say that now. So, yeah. That's not a bad idea for a short. I will absolutely consider that. Ooh, I'm writing that down. Ethereal Swordsman. Atlas V 551 is the second fastest in Florida. The Minotaurs still technically fly. Vulcan VC6 will beat it easily. Ariane 6-4, Vegan C, and 4 SRB H3 aren't Florida, but they are or will be nuts too. That is true. And Anonymous getting some items from the shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com saying, you guys rock. My husband and son are all about rockets, and y'all are great to keep up with and watch. They're always excited to meet you all at launches, even though you tend to be out of patches. Max, D, do you have some explaining to do? Julia and I have our patches.
Yeah, but we give away ours a lot more because we're out a lot more. Sorry, I love you. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. But yes, we between Flight 11 and everyone that we have been lucky enough to meet over the last few attempts with New Glenn, we are honestly out of patches. Basically, don't worry. We have talked to DOS. He is aware, and that is going to be sorted as quickly as possible.
I believe this is one of our viewer photos as well that we're seeing out of Atlas flying. That is really cool to see all the different people out there seeing it. And I know our team has some amazing views. And this was, oh boy, this may be too soon, but this was from a cruise ship.
Which one? Dare I ask?
Ooh, do we want to ask? Hopefully it wasn't that cruise ship. But let's see here. Continuing to get more shots. This was from Tampa, Florida. So pretty much straight across the way. And this is from Maxivanus. I think that's how you pronounce their name. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. I apologize. Getting this gorgeous liftoff shot.
A for effort.
Well done, Max. Julia Bergeron also getting that streak shot there. I love always when you get streak shots with the reflection in the water. Those are some of my absolute favorites. Come on, voice, you can stay a little longer. But yeah, the team doing amazing work out there tonight. I know we had Max and D and Julia, and I believe Jerry also out there getting some shots as we take a look now at the replays. This from our Fleet Cam 1, the OG Fleet Cam, both of which, though, are located at Rusty's at the port. A great place to hang out, watch all the booster activity, and watch launches when they're open, too. Oh, yeah, also a good place to eat. You could see just how bright Atlas is. I mean, it's always night into day, but Max, I mean, Atlas is, I think I called it once, day into brighter day in my brilliance.
Well, that as well, but it's also over a lot faster because the solids burn out actually pretty quickly, and also it flies a lot faster than a Falcon 9 does, at least initially. So, while it is a little bit brighter, it's also not quite as loud, and it travels a lot faster. So it's over a lot quicker, unfortunately. So as we could probably tell here, it flies through frame here a lot faster than a Falcon 9 normally does.
Exactly. So these replays will be quicker, and as we were joking about, we'll have to see which was faster, the New Glenn off the pad or the DY's slow-mo replay. It might be close. And then this from one of the cameras that we have, the robotic cameras at the press site over at LC39 area. Again, that's the power of solids, folks, right there. That is your solid rocket boosters at work. Oh, absolutely stunning. See more people getting items as well from the shop. They're getting puzzles, which we have the puzzles, by the way. It may look kind of blue-ish, but trust me, it's not. That is more of a deep orange, yellowy color, especially with that solid
blue.
Right, that's what I mean. Compared to earlier, especially, blues is a lot more blue. Although I have to say, in daylight, it looked a lot more grayish, silver, white almost. But yeah, Max, it's quite hard to compare the two. But I mean, just the colors and the dirtiness of the plume, for lack of a better way to put it, is so different between what we saw earlier this afternoon and what we're seeing tonight.
Yeah, it really is between the different kinds of fuel in play and also just how quickly they burn as well. Obviously, New Glenn burns pretty cleanly with its methane and oxygen combination. Atlas does not because the solids leave behind a pretty thick smoke trail behind it, and also in combination with the Carolox with the RD-180. So, not exactly the cleanest burning rocket, but it is certainly very very efficient and very fast. So. Yeah, quite the contrast between the two that we saw today. And honestly, I'm super excited to see more of that contrast, especially as Vulcan increases its launch cadence, hopefully here soon, because Vulcan uses, actually, here's my track as well, a combination of these exact SRBs, albeit a little bit longer, and also the BE4s that we saw fly today. So lots to look forward to.
And Max, thank you for your work today out in the field. We really, really appreciate it as we watch your track so you can finally start packing up and get something to eat because all of our Florida Cape team is basically not eating most of today. So go get some food, you guys.
It has been a long day, everybody, but thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. And we cannot honestly express to you with enough words how much that is appreciated here, genuinely, by myself, Dee, Sawyer, everybody on the team. It has been a day of days here, certainly, and honestly, a week of weeks with how much prep and work we've had with these scrubs at play as well. So we are always grateful, and we are always happy to see everyone show back up and hang out with us even more. So thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you again very soon.
Yes, Max Evans, D-Wise, both out in the field for this launch tonight, providing views. Very much appreciate you both. Of course, we also have our robotic cameras. We have people across the globe that are able to take remote control of some of these cameras that we have here at Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, port areas, and track the different launches. So, amazing team there over at Space Coast Live, which again, we have our 24/7 live cameras if you want to see all of the action going on the best coast. In other words, East Coast, we don't have anything out of Vandenberg. I mean, you can watch a gray screen. It's close enough, right? and then, of course, D-Wise's slow motion, which is some of the best, in my opinion. So hopefully we'll have that on the way out. But Alex, thank you for joining me. Man, we've been on the air a lot together today.
Yeah, it's been quite a long day for us too, right? Here in the studio, of course, we are not there among the elements, right? But at least we have been. Well, you have been there actually. I forgot that you actually were there for New Glenn.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. I completely forgot. I'm really sorry, but yeah, we'll be here back again for the next couple of launches. Apparently, maybe tomorrow we'll have more launches. Flame Trench as well tomorrow. We'll stay tuned for that. So lots of discussion, I hope, and I don't know. I'll see you when I see you. But it's been fun today.
We have a lot to talk about, that's for sure, on the Flame Trench, on This Week in Spaceflight, all of that coming up in the next 24-ish hours as well. But yeah, I only got home about 45 minutes to an hour before the stream and hopped from field commentary to hosting. That's why I jumped back down here instead of stayed up, to make sure that we had someone to host this here. Also, Lords of Random saying, Max, use this to buy a bagel or something, with a $2 super chat. I believe Waffle House is in order for the team. Kevin Michael Reed has been the one pushing the buttons and pulling the levers for tonight, along with Jay Keegan in the background. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been your host for this evening's launch. Thank you so much for joining us for all of the spaceflight coverage today. We have so much more still to come. We hope you'll join us for all of that. Until the next launch or launches, have a good one, everybody.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FTE off. Say again, FTE off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage! Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.